Hello everyone and welcome to Gaming Gold episodes, 16 now? It is the 22nd of August, and that means Final Fantasy comes out in 5 days. Early access starts on the 24th, and open beta ended on Monday. And that actually brings me to the topic of this week. This week I was going to talk about something else, but I decided with all the stuff that's been happening and the experience I've had with betas and stuff like that recently, I want to talk about testing. So a lot of people find open betas to be a trial of the game or something like that. And while that's true, they want to get as many people in there to try the game so that those people then buy the game and things like that. That's not the true meaning of betas or alphas or any type of testing. The true meaning of those is to find bugs, is to find problems, so they can fix those problems. So when the game launches or when the game releases, or whatever it's going to be, if it's just going to be a console single player game, they still want to find all those bugs, because once it releases, then it's released to everybody else, and they're going to buy the game for $60, $50, $40, whatever. And once they buy it, if it's got a game-breaking bug in it, or they can't do this or something like that, then that reflects on the studio, that reflects on the game, especially if it's a franchise. They may not, that person may not buy the next game, things like that. So testing is very, very important. And on MMOs, they have multiple types of testing. I mean, they have multiple types of testing on console games as well, but for MMOs specifically, they have their alpha test, which is their internal, like in-house sort of testing, and then they have their closed betas and open betas and things like that. And games can change drastically in that amount of time. So, like Firefall, for example, when Firefall started, it was a strictly PvP sort of arena game, and through testing and through player feedback, it's evolved into a third-person shooter MMO. Still has PvP elements and arena elements and that type of thing, but they completely changed their focus to be, an actual true MMO instead of just some PvP thing. And that's taken place over years and years and years. And they're now in open beta, and they're still changing things, they're still updating things, they're still doing things based on player feedback. If a player says, hey, this is kind of broken, or this doesn't work right, or hey, this should be bigger, or this wasn't very clear, they look at all that feedback and then they adjust the game accordingly. And the other common fallacy really with MMOs and testing is that something is broken. A player finds something and they're like, man, this doesn't work the way it should, or this is too hard, or this is, all that type of stuff. And that's not necessarily true. That's not necessarily something that's going to be fixed. So a lot of people feel that they're going to go in there and they're going to make a comment, and then that's going to drastically affect this whole thing. The developers and the designers look at that, and they see it, and they test it, they see if they can recreate it, and they see if it's actually a problem, or if it's working as intended, or if they feel they can fix it. Maybe it's just something they can't fix. So all of those little things, a lot of people feel that, I'm not being heard, or it doesn't matter if I comment because they're not listening anyway. That's totally untrue. If you are in a beta, if you beta test anything, your feedback is always valued. So if you go to a thread, let's say you're having a graphical issue and you get stuck in this rock in this one area. If you go to the forums and you do a search, and let's just use Final Fantasy example. Limsa Lominsa stuck on dock, in this area. If you go there and there's somebody else who's posted that thread already in the bug forums, and go into that same forum, even if somebody's already posted it, go into that forum and say, this is when it happened to me, this is what I was doing. Go in there and actually make a report, because the more information that the team has, the more likely they are to be able to fix the problem or recreate the issue so then they can fix the problem. It's all very, very important to testing. So don't go into an open beta or a closed beta or anything like that, thinking, "Hey, I'm just going to get to play this game. It's going to be great," and stuff like that. If you're going into a testing phase of a game, whether it be open beta, closed beta, alpha, anything like that, you're going into that game to help them make the game better. And I mean, I love playing the games too. I mean, I'm a gamer through and through, but looking at it as a designer, without that help, without that stress test, without figuring out these particular problems, the game could never be as good as it should be, or we want it to be as designers. So we need help with that sort of thing, and that's where the players come in, and that's why communities are so great. The communities around MMOs, the Final Fantasy community over at XIV Nation is absolutely amazing right now. There are some trolls, but there's hardly any trolls. Everybody's super helpful and stuff like that. The Final Fantasy Beta forums, there's more trolls there, but it's still very helpful in general. But you do tend to get people who are passionate one way or the other. Whether it's, I'm really super passionate on this side of the fence, or I'm really super passionate on this side of the fence, and that water and oil don't really mix. So you get problems that way. Not necessarily trolling, but you just get problems. But it's very important that if you do beta test, that you go in and you keep an open mind. You have to realize that people are going to have different opinions than you. Maybe somebody found this or found that, or maybe you're really having trouble on this fight, but somebody else breezes through it. Well, why is that? Are they a different class? Are they a different race? Are they, maybe they have a different setup. Maybe they found this one weapon before. All that type of stuff can change everything drastically, and the devs need to know that. Hey, maybe we shouldn't put that epic level weapon as a level 10 drop, because now if somebody does get it, or if people are selling it on the auction house or whatever, that means that this level 15 fight that we wanted to be really challenging now isn't for some reason. So all of that feedback is important, and a lot of people don't realize that man, hey, this fight was really, really hard, and then somebody jumps on you and says, no, that fight was super easy, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, why is that? That's what the dev is looking for, is why is that? So all of that stuff is super important. Keeping an open mind, being respectful, and just understanding that the devs are listening. They may just not tell you that. You may not see them listening. You may not, they may not be making posts and stuff like that. But just rest assured, they are. They're looking at it. Final Fantasy is especially difficult because pretty much the entire development team is Japanese, and most of us are American, and there's that huge language barrier. So we have our forums and we post, but then somebody's got to go and translate that a lot of times so that the devs can actually use it. So there's that delay, and then there's the same delay going the other direction. They're responding to the people in the Japanese forums all the time because they speak Japanese. They can just look at the post and be like, oh, here's the answer. With us, they have to have it translated, and then they have to type their thing, and then that has to be translated back. And so just that barrier really hinders Final Fantasy in that regard. They talked about that on XIV Reborn on Gamebreaker this week, and how it just seems like we don't hear anything. And when the problem, like the 3102 error, happens and it's affecting the North American player base, and there's just nothing but silence, and you don't hear anything from the devs, you don't hear anything at all. That's what I think Square needs to work on in their beta process and in their testing process, and just as an MMO in general. They need to work on that communication, because there's going to be a ton of people who play the game in Japan, but there's going to be just as many, if not more, who play it worldwide. And if we're not getting information strictly because of a language barrier, that's a failing on their part. And that's not going to stop me from playing the game. I love the game, but I think it's just something that Square as a corporation, as an entity, as a business, needs to work on. So that's my thoughts on testing in a nutshell. I do have some other things that I wanted to talk about. I think I talked about them last week, but I'm going to talk about them this week again. I have decided to not do the Final Fantasy show that I was going to do. I just don't have time with school and other things that are going on. Um, I will be a pretty prevalent member in the Final Fantasy sort of social community. XIV Nation is where my home pretty much will be for social and as a website if you want to find me and things like that. You can always find me here with Gaming Gold, but if you wanted to find me in Final Fantasy, I will be playing on Cactar. My character's name is Vaughn Cordell, and you can find me on XIV Nation with Vaughn88 is my name there on the forums and on that site. So if you guys want to find me there, you guys can find me over there. Of course, you can always find me on my Twitter and all that type of stuff. So yeah, gonna stay with Gaming Gold. Not gonna do the Final Fantasy show. There will be things with Gaming Gold where it will be more Final Fantasy focused. Certain episodes, things like that. Just because I'm going to be playing that a lot, so I'm going to have a lot to talk about with that specifically. But I'm still going to bring you, general things just about gaming in general, or this specific thing over here or something like that that's not Final Fantasy related. So if you're watching because you like the fact that I talk about all kinds of just random crap, well, that's not going away. There just may be some episodes where I am talking specifically about Final Fantasy. So next week, I hope my game, my box for 14 is in, because I would like to do an unboxing. I think that would be kind of cool. Show you guys what's in the collector's edition, talk about it, that type of thing. So hopefully that's here next week. If not, I will record it as soon as it comes in, and I will post it for the week after. So thank you guys for watching, and have a nice day. Hey guys, thanks again for watching the show. If you'd like to follow us, you can look us up on these social media sites. You can follow us on Twitter at Jordan Raider and at Charles Goldwing. Charles Goldwing is Andrews. You can follow us on YouTube. Hopefully that's where you're watching this, but if it's embedded someplace else, you can follow us on YouTube with the YouTube URL here, www.youtube.com/gaminggold88. And you can also follow us on Facebook at our Facebook page with www.facebook.com/gaminggold88. Thank you guys again for watching. Have a nice day.